Except when making a traffic stop, I have never once seen a cop drive under the speed limit. How are they not aware that Krispy Kreme turns on the hot donut sign every few minutes? Like, relax guys. They want you to resemble actual pigs. And so I promise you that they're not running out of fresh donuts anytime soon. As cops have a predilection for blowing through intersections and neglecting stop signs, you know that camera technicians face a decision when they mail out violations. Well, let's see here. Camera went off a few seconds early while Deborah drove through the yellow light. That's still a ticket. Mohammed at the toll booth transported Muslims. That's definitely a ticket. Officer Smith driving with the cell phone in one hand, operating his laptop with the other, while steering with his knees, with cocaine dripping out of his nose, while smoking 2 blunts, while going 30 over through the red light. Gotta throw that one out. Seriously, how many officers have you ever seen in court fighting camera tickets? When I see a speeding blue and white blur in my rearview mirror, I know that it's not Sonic the Hedgehog. And I don't even need sirens to make me understand who the perpetrator is. I understand that cops are in a hurry to go out and harm black people, but if speeding is really that bad, then why are officers always doing it? Does it never occur to these Einsteins that when they remain stationary in their vehicle and aim their radar detector at innocent civilians, that they actually need to drive faster than the alleged speeder to catch up with him? What about being a NASCAR fan makes cops believe that they're actually qualified to be NASCAR drivers? Seeing as how police academies don't send their cadets to the Richard Petty driving experience, and as they don't offer courses in drag racing and stunt driving. I don't think that a mother has ever said, "It's okay that the officer ran head on into my daughter and killed her because he's a cop." I've tried making citizen arrests on officers for incredibly dangerous driving and for ridiculously reckless speeding, and I can assure you that the officer never said, "Well, I'm sorry, I apologize, I won't do it next time, sir. Just do me a favor and go easy on the punts, will you?" As a Maryland attorney, some of the most common offenses that I see people being charged with relate to driving on suspended registration, driving without a registration card in their vehicle, not having tabs on their license plates, or for allegedly failing to register their vehicle at all that year. So then why is it that cops don't need to register their cars? How come cops don't need registration tags on their license plates? And why is it that these hypocrites get to skip the inane lines at the Motor Vehicle Administration while still pulling us over for these exact same offenses? Are their Crown Victorias really that regal that they can't be defaced with stickers? And shouldn't cops be subject to the exact same laws that they enforce? And especially when the financial penalties for these registration issues are often double or more than the initial $100 and some change registration fees. How exactly do cops get away with parking in handicap spots? Are they really that jealous that your grandmother's still living? Is getting a 6-pack of road beers really more important than preventing the senior from falling and breaking his hip? If they can't walk an additional 10 feet, then how are they going to run after and murder innocent black men like Walter Scott? I can't imagine being pulled over for DWB, meaning driving while black, though I'm sick and tired of being pulled over for the other more minor DWB, meaning driving while bearded. It's like officers presume if I have facial hair that I can't be a model citizen, and that I must have pounds of heroin and cadavers in my trunk. In the jurisdiction where I live in, Cops have medals on their chest adhering to being pistol masters or marksmanship experts. Yeah, it's really comforting to know that if I get pulled over with no reasonable suspicion whatsoever for a Terry stop, that they can put one between my eyes from 20 feet away. I really don't think that we should be paying officers to take target practice on cutouts of headshots of President Obama. To cut down on the amount of executions performed by officers, I believe they should begin carrying candy guns. That way they can pump off some M&Ms or Skittles whenever they get upset for no reason. You know that even those subject to racial profiling will say, well, it's okay, and I'll abide, because free candy! It's bullshit that officers only go by their last names or badge numbers, because how exactly can we hold them accountable? You know that there's at least 5 Johnsons and Smiths per department, and officer number 82561 just doesn't have the same distinctive je ne sais quoi as does Fabio, Pele, or Cher. In the majority of states, getting an officer's disciplinary record or internal affairs file is even more likely than me regrowing hair in the next 50 years. Right, because knowing if the officer has a habit of groping ladies, pulling people over unnecessarily, or being a racist definitely wouldn't help hold them accountable. I'm not a fan of cops being members of frats, meaning the Fraternal Order of Police, as I think the last thing we need is our officers, who we pay for, to be members of a secret brotherhood, to take an oath of omerta, and to play flip cup and beer pong while chilling at the station. I really love how officers always stick up for each other no matter what, and help one another doctor body camera footage, withhold evidence, and perjure themselves when they make statements. I think it would be a lot better if cops admitted when they did things wrong instead of trying to hide it. When was the last time that you saw an officer with long hair and who, like Nick Lowe, believed in peace, love, and understanding? Officer Gaga murdering Botham Jane for eating ice cream in his own apartment. Well, everybody knows that blacks don't eat ice cream. 5 New York City cops choking Eric Garner to death in 2014, despite the NYPD prohibiting chokeholds in 1993. Well, gotta maintain that state monopoly on cigarette sales. Officer Encina arresting Sandra Bland for not using a turn signal, holding her in jail for 3 days, then finding her dead in her cell. Well, everyone knows you don't mess with Texas. Officer Smith killing Greg Gunn for walking home from a poker game. Everyone knows that blacks cheat at cards. Officer Yanez killing Philando Castile because he had a lawful firearm in the vehicle. Carry permit must have been a forgery. Officer Messerly killing Oscar Grant III for getting off a train. The ball should have drove. Officer Oliver killing 15-year-old Jordan Edwards for riding in a car. The boy should have taken the train. The killings discussed, the many thousands of other innocent victims who I did not mention, and all of the other issues outlined above will never be resolved until we acknowledge the pervasive health and safety danger that officers cause to our brothers and sisters. This is why we need strict public accountability over the police, and this is why cops need to be held accountable.